We're looking for one player to crash the top 12 party at each position for the rest of the season. Next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. I'm Chris Towers, and we're going to talk about the top 12 rankings for the rest of the season and try to identify one player who isn't in the top 12 so far this season but will be the rest of the season. But first, let's talk about some of the big news items from this weekend because we had some real doozies. Chris Sale broke the pinky on his left hand in his second start. IL stint at this point seems likely. Sale said he thinks 4 to 6 weeks could be a possible timetable, so that's unfortunate. He'd only made 2 starts, obviously, since coming back from that rib injury that set him back to start the season, so really frustrating. That's, could be the season for Chris Sale in terms of his fantasy impact at least, so, if he's not back until September, that makes it really hard to hold on to him. Max Meyer struggled in his Marlins debut, giving up 5 earned runs over 5 1/3 innings. He retired 10 of the first 12 he faced, had a strikeout in each of the first 4 innings, but struggled a little bit with the long ball. JT Realmuto and Rhys Hoskins both took him deep, but still showed a plus slider and had 9 whiffs on 79 pitches overall, and he remains worth adding. Jacob deGrom will throw a live batting practice session on Tuesday before presumably joining the rotation to start the second half of the season, so that's big news. Jacob deGrom still arguably, I think, the best pitcher in fantasy when he's healthy. So hopefully he can remain healthy rest of the season. Luis Severino will be shut down for 2 weeks, and then you have to figure you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 week recovery period where he has to ramp back up. So even in a best case scenario, Severino probably not coming back until late August at the earliest. That's a really tough timetable for him to come back from. Fernando Tatis has begun his hitting work as he works his way back from a wrist injury, so hopefully he'll be back in the next couple of weeks. Juan Soto turned down a 15-year, $440 million contract from the Nationals and will be made available for trade, presumably, coming up with the All-Star or with the trade deadline coming up. And then Mike Trout will skip the All-Star game due to back spasms. He missed the last couple of games before the break with that injury, so that's something to keep an eye on, hopefully. Won't be a lingering issue, but back injuries can be tricky, especially when players are, in that 30-plus range, like Mike Trout's. He's getting up there. So hopefully he'll be all right moving forward. All right, let's talk about some players. I'm going to take one player who has not been in the top 12 at each position so far, and I'm going to tell you that they're going to be in the top 12 the rest of the way. And we'll start at starting pitcher with Kevin Gausman, who remains a top 12 starting pitcher for me. I'm actually not sure why. People seem kind of skeptical, but he's, right around 10.2 Ks per 9, elite walk rate, 2.81 ERA. The FIP is like 2.18. So he's been outstanding so far this season. Missed a couple of starts with that ankle injury at the end, but I think he'll be just fine moving forward. Outfield, I'm going to go with Michael Harris as a guy who could maybe not top 12, but top 24 the rest of the season. Seems really doable for Michael Harris, who has 8 home runs, 10 steals in 47 games, had a 3-steal game this weekend. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball consistently. The only issue for him really right now is just the plate discipline. He's a really aggressive swinger. He's only got a 4% walk rate, 24% strikeout rate. So if anything's going to trip Michael Harris up, it's that. But he looks like a really dynamic player with really good athleticism and power. Catcher, Adley Rutschman, kind of the free spot on the board. I think, he's someone I have ranked in the top 6 at catcher, despite the fact that he has not been a top 12 catcher so far. But since June 11th, he's basically been the guy we thought he would be. 253 batting average, 336 OBP, 525 slugs since June 11th. So I think there's a lot to like about Adley Rutschman. First baseman who hasn't been in the top 12 but will be moving forward. I've got Andrew Vaughn as a top 12 first baseman the rest of the way. The quality of contact metrics are really good. The contact profile is quite good. And, he could stand to hit the ball in the air a little more. He doesn't run, so that's a real narrow path to becoming a very good fantasy contributor. But he's been an outstanding hitter so far this season. I think the power will be even better for Andrew Vaughn rest of the way. Top 12, I'm going to take a kind of freebie. Brandon Lau is technically not a top 12 guy so far this season because he's missed a bunch of time, but he was 6 for 8 in his first 2 games back, and I think he's absolutely a top 12 guy rest of season. Third base is arguably the shallowest position among the non-catcher positions. You've kind of got like 6 guys and then some pretty mediocre players after that, rounding out the top 12. So I think Ke'Bryan Hayes can crack in there. 89th percentile on average exit velocity. He's got a 270 expected batting average compared to a 251 actual mark. If Ke'Bryan Hayes hits 275 and, 10 homers the rest of the way. The quality of contact is really good. He just hits the ball on the ground too much. If he can elevate it just slightly, 8 to 10 home runs the rest of the way, 10 plus stolen bases, I think that's well within the realm of possibility. Ke'Bryan Hayes, someone I really like moving forward. I'm going to keep banging that drum. And then at shortstop, Carlos Correa has not been a top 12 guy. I have him ranked inside my top 12. He actually has the 3rd best expected stats of his career so far this season. The overall production, he's got like a low 800s OPS. It hasn't been great, but I think Carlos Correa, the quality of contact is still very, very good. I think he's going to be really, really good in the second half. So that's it. Those are the players at each position I think are going to storm the top 12 for the rest of the way. For more, make sure you check out the full episode of Fantasy Baseball Today on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fantasy Baseball Today on YouTube. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.